Hi, this is Deborah Atkinson, founder of The Voice for Fitness. I'm going to show you an at-home series of exercises. The first one is going to be a squat with a kettlebell. We've been talking about squats and the safety and the effectiveness of working major muscle groups in your lower body. So if you are doing an at-home routine, you are intimidated to go to the gym, it's not convenient for you to go to the gym, or whatever your reason might be, I'm going to show you a way to do it at home if you must. I'm a big believer in using heavy weights, and in order to do that safely, you really need access to some gym equipment. But functional exercise is also good, and we need that too. So that's why we'll start with this at-home sequence. I'm going to break each one up, and I'm going to start with the kettlebell squat. You could do it with dumbbells. You could hold one dumbbell in both hands, or you could hold a dumbbell in each hand to do yours. What's important is that you're sitting with your weight on your heels and you're sitting and taking your hips back, not your knees forward. And then from there, I'm going to show you a bent over row. And then after that, we'll finish with a chest press. One set of each of those exercises will be right here on the video for you. If you're a beginner, that's enough. See how that goes after doing that a couple of times a week with at least a day in between, and then go on and maybe try a second set after about 2 weeks. So you could ultimately do these 3 exercises 3 times. It's what we call a tri-set. 3 times 3. And in about 10 minutes, you've got a great sequence. So they're simple, they're easy, but they're also a great way to make sure that you're not off the hook. You do have time. So here we go. Okay, starting with my kettlebell squat. So my kettlebell is about 30 pounds, which is heavy. It's not too heavy. I could actually do a little bit more, but you want something that is heavy and actually helps you have good form. If it's too light, sometimes it's actually harder to do it well. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm separating my legs, putting them out in what looks like a little bit of ballet. It's in a plie squat. So I'm not perfectly parallel and I'm not really narrow. I'm a little bit wider than hip width apart, toes pointed out. My weight's on my heels, and all I'm going to do is keep my chest fairly upright, so not uncomfortably so. Naturally, you're going to hinge at your hip. Here's what it looks like from the side. So I want you to see both before we actually do the full set. So I'm going to come down, I'm going to pick that up, and I may not be able to go back down and get that every time. So if I need to, if I'm a little tighter, I'm going to stop before the floor. And that's what you should do. Now, I think I can handle the floor. So we'll see. Down and up. So you can see that I'm sitting back, my weight stays on my heels, my knees aren't jutting forward, which means I'm using my glutes, my quads a little bit, and my hamstrings to come up. I'm not lifting with my shoulders. So I'm going to do about a 3/4 view and do 15. And here we go. So it's down, and I push up through the heels. Try not to bend over, and I'm looking at a great mountain view of the Great Divide. So if you don't have that view, use your imagination and lift. Let's do 10 to go. And 9, 8, weight on the heels, down and up. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set it down and come up. Now it's your set. You should be a little out of breath, and I am. This is number 2 in our series. So we're going to do a lift, and I'm going to say, pretending this is the only weight I have at home, which might be the case for you. Maybe you just have one pair of dumbbells, and you're going to need to use probably the heaviest pair that you have if you have more than one. So using my kettlebell, I'm going to be able to do right and then have to do left separately. I can't be doing 2 at once, obviously, with one dumbbell. So here's form, and there's a couple of options. So when I'm doing a bent over row with 2 arms, I'm definitely going to sit back, hips behind me, knees are comfortable because my toes are light, and then I would pull up and draw my shoulder blades together, elbows hugging my side, and drawing the shoulder blades away from my ears and back at the same time. Now, with a single, I can do that with my one kettlebell also, or I can take a staggered stance, more like a lunge if I wanted to. There's not a right or wrong answer, so just get comfortable. I'm going to take that parallel squat, and I'm going to do 10 to 12 with my kettlebell, but it's a heavy weight for doing upper body like this with one arm. So we'll see how it goes. Here we go. 1, 2, nice flat back. 3, 4, 5, and you can see I'm using a little power. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and down. And now to the left side, which probably wasn't smart because it's my non-dominant side. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And down. And that was my bent over row. A couple things to point out. I was going fairly quickly, a little power, but under control, and that's okay. I'm a little out of breath. I should be, as should you. The weight's heavy and you're working. We're going to go on to our third exercise, and that'll happen on the floor. All right, so this is number 3 of our series, and this is not ideal. I have a single weight. So if I had a dumbbell, I would have it end to end and hold it like this, if that's all I had. Or I could do that dumbbell and do one arm at a time. Now I've got a heavy kettlebell that I could use for squats, which means it's a little too heavy for me to do a one arm press with it. So I'm going to hold it in both hands and push up. So is that perfectly like a gym exercise? No, but it's an awful lot like life, right? Have you ever taken a heavy stack of good china and had to put it back on the top shelf? Or taken a heavy baby, wiggling baby nonetheless, and had to hand them over to someone else or across something? So not every exercise has to look perfectly like a magazine exercise. In fact, we know when we garden and we're shoveling, we're doing resistance training, and it needs to look different all the time. So this is okay. And sometimes having to do variety is a good thing. So here we go. I'm going to hold my weight, lie down, and I can hold the handle or I can hold it around the belly of the weight, and that's what I'm going to choose to do. So here we go. 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And there you've done your tricep one time through. So if you're ambitious and you're already fit, go through that a second time and maybe a third time. And write below in the comments and let me know, how does this work for you for home exercise?